Hello, everybody. I feel like we haven't really connected, you know? I feel like we haven't had a little touch base. So I wanted to just sort of level set with you and talk to you generally about spirituality and what it means to live a spiritual life and how you can use it to help you get better. We hear a lot of feedback from society. Mental health TikTok, mental health Instagram has really taken a rise since 2020, right? COVID hit, and a lot of us were stuck with our own thoughts. We were stuck with our own mind. And I would say, arguably, that 2020 was kind of a cultural reset. It was a time for all of us to really look inward. Some of us have taken that opportunity, and some of us have really moved in a way where we're sort of forced to do that. And I think when we start to think about how do we live our life spiritually, I get this feedback all the time. And it's something that I find to be really funny, actually. Like a lot of people will say, you're 26 years old. Why are you caring about all these things? Why do you care about letting go and, your thoughts and things like that? Because I think a lot of older people have this mentality that we really should look to relinquish the material world when we reach 50s or 60s. And I argue that I think if we are able to relinquish it now and spend the next 30, 40 years practicing it, then we'll be even closer to that. Because relinquishing our attachment to things, we act like it's so easy. We say those words and we act like it just comes true. And I think it's one of those things where practice makes perfect. And so, I wanted to talk about generally where I'm at, how I'm feeling, and see if it resonates and see sort of, because, that's kind of how I started. I started posting 4 years ago during the pandemic. I had all this extra time. I had just graduated college. And I was like, you know what? Like, I feel like I've done a lot of work on my mental health. I was really struggling all throughout college. And I felt like really lost and really sad and just didn't know if I was doing the right things. And long story short, I wasn't. I wasn't really living in a way that I was proud of even then. Now I can look back fondly and say all of that had to happen, and I think that it made me a lot more conscious and a lot more aware. And so when those negative thoughts sort of creep up, I'm able to manage them. But at the time, it was really difficult. And even now, right, I posted a few videos ago about relinquishing shame and guilt. And it's that, right? It's a never-ending cycle. I'm still replaying the stuff that I did and the negative circumstances in my head, but less so now because I've started to sort of find peace in the present moment. And again, I'm saying these buzzwords, right? And I can hear them. And I'm like, why can't we just have a simple way to just understand what it is to be present? What it means to live spiritually? Why can't just someone implant that practice into my brain so I can just do it right now? And I think, again, it's a testament to the fact that we have our own karma that we have to burn. We have our vasanas and the characteristics, of ourselves that prevent us from obtaining internal peace. But there are ways to work through that. And I don't think we're going to get into that level of detail today. I think as the course of my videos go on, I hope to help you get there. But for today, let's just level set. A lot of people throw around the words, think good thoughts. What does it mean to think positively? And it's one of those concepts that I couldn't really wrap my head around. Like, if I think positively, does that mean that I have to think positively all the time? Does it mean that I have to be this extremely positive person and, repress? Because when I hear positivity, I think, okay, so you're repressing a lot of stuff. Okay, so you're suppressing a lot of stuff. There's some spiritual bypass happening. And it's a term that we throw around, but I think essentially to be a positive person is to allow for the circumstances to be. I don't think being a positive person is being a happy person. I think it's somebody who is neutral, ironically. I think a positive person allows for circumstances to exist the way that they are and are okay with that. They aren't trying to change their circumstances to fit what they believe is right. They aren't trying to manipulate anybody's mind. They're not trying to control their thoughts. They're not controlling anything. They're allowing for circumstances to be. And I think that's what makes a peaceful person. One of the most, I think, difficult concepts to wrap our head around is how to understand duality. When we start to talk about meditation, we hear the words, control your thoughts, you should have no thoughts, or at least, I don't know if that's something that's actually been said in books, because oftentimes you'll find that the books will tell us to let the thoughts be. But we, as humans, tend to judge ourselves because we think that meditation is to have no thoughts, or to be in prayer is to have no thoughts. But in reality, it's very much like an intersection. You are driving in your car. You are at a red light, right? When you're at that red light and you're at the intersection, you see cars pass by you, right? Let's imagine that it's like one of those cross-section intersections, right? You see cars pass by you. You might be like, ooh, that's a nice red car, and you'll follow it, and eventually it'll leave your sight, right? Because a building is blocking it, or other cars are blocking it. But you might follow a car here and there, and you'll be like, oh, that's a nice car, okay, bye, and it goes away. That's very similar to how we should look at our thoughts. Just letting them pass by you. Yeah, there might be one that you hang on to for a little bit, but eventually that one leaves too. And it's to kind of like have this detachment, I should say, to your thoughts. And allowing them to just be there. I think what we do is we tend to give our thoughts a lot of power. When we think about our vices, right? I think that that's one of the most extreme examples, but relevant examples. Let's think about our vices. We're out with our friends and everybody's drinking, but you have made this internal promise to not consume alcohol, or you want to live a sattvic life, whatever. And you're like, you know what? I'm not going to drink. The entire time, you might be thinking, oh my God, I'm not drinking. Oh my God, what are they saying about me? So am I not having fun anymore? Am I not part of the group? And we start to overthink these situations. This is one example, but we start to overthink a lot of situations. And I think we give our thoughts a lot of power. And I think it's just to take the power away. And I've used the affirmation, I call my power back to me with love and with light. And that really helps me feel grounded, right? I say the words, I call my power back to me with love and light. And who is me in this? The me is my Atma. It helps me separate what's happening in my mind to what's actually going on in the world. Because then I realize, okay, so I've just been living in my head. I've just been thinking these thoughts, imagining up scenarios, imagining what other people think of me, imagining up my perception of on other people, and just sort of forming these judgments and misjudgments about the world around me. And it's these cyclical patterns that are the most harmful to us, right? It's this judgment and this misjudgment and this participation in falsehood that is so likely. And that's what causes us suffering. So what is spirituality? To me, spirituality is connecting with something bigger than me, and finding silence to be louder than the noise, and finding peace in that. I let myself take long pauses in my sentences now. I let myself breathe a little bit deeply now. Especially when I'm alone, I find myself to be a lot happier than I used to be when I was alone. Before, I would have considered myself a pure extrovert. I'm only going to be able to be happy when I'm around a ton of people. I'm somebody that loves talking to people. I love meeting people. And, I'm only happy when I'm around other people. But now lately, I am just as happy with myself as I am with other people. And that thought almost brings tears to my eyes, because it took me a really long time to get here. It took me a really long time to find true happiness in just being. I didn't even know what that meant. my yoga instructor, my father, my mother, like the spiritual books I would read, our scripture, they would always just passively tell us that we need to just be happy and be. I never knew what that meant. I never knew what that meant until recently, where I was like, oh, it means I don't have to do anything to be happy. I don't need anything outside of me to be happy, to feel complete, to feel like I've done a good job. I don't need anything outside of me to complete me. Whether that be a person, whether that be a job, whether that be a jam-packed schedule, whether that be social engagements, whether that be even my journaling practices, even my spiritual practices. I can just be and be happy. And that's incredible, right? That's this state that I feel like I've been in is something that I thought would be impossible for me. And how did I get here? Let's take it back. So a few years ago, I started posting a lot of manifestation content. And I'm really thankful for that time because it taught me what it meant to control my thoughts. I sort of said that earlier, that I would say a happy person, a positive person is someone who doesn't feel the need to control. And in this context with manifestation, I was in a really dark hole. It was like 2021. I was just miserable. I was so sad all the time, had discontent left and right, and took it out on a lot of people. I am ashamed of how I was then, or at least I'm working through that, I was ashamed, but I'm working through that. But I felt like 2021 was a really hard year for me. And when I stumbled upon law of assumption, I was like, this is my pathway to freedom. I can control my thoughts and I can change my reality. I can manifest my circumstances. I can manifest whatever it is that I want. And so I started with affirmations. I am happy. I am peaceful. I am beautiful. I am creative. I am loving. I am love. I am the vibration of love. My friends and my family love me. My boyfriend, now husband, loves me. And I was down this thought process of changing the way that I think. And I'm really grateful that I did that. It took me a year to change some of my subconscious beliefs to the point where now I have the most loving husband, the most loving relationship. Like, I thank God every day because of him, because of my husband. I thank God every day because I have the best sister in the entire world. I have the best parents, the best in-laws. So I can't really believe that I have the life that I have right now. But then I'm like, you know what? You wrote this down. I look back at my journal from 2021 and I wrote it down. I said, I have a loving husband. I was not married. I have parents that love and respect me, and I love and respect them. We were fighting constantly. I was living at home. I have the best sister in the world. I don't think I valued her the way that I value her now. I have the best in-laws. I was not married then. And people call it delusion. That's fine. You can say what you want. But I call it manifestation. I was living in the reality that I wanted to live in. And I lived in the reality where I had a healthy relationship with everybody around me. And I look back on that journal and I think, wow, all of that manifested, all of that created. So why do I tell you this story? I tell you this story because this is the value of positive thinking. Positive thinking is not ignoring the negative stuff that happens around you. It's allowing it to happen and finding a way to find transmutation in that process. Transmutation is taking a negative circumstance and turning it into something that is a lesson, and turning it into something that's positive, and turning it into something that allows you to learn from. So, let's take an example, a current example. All right. So, a current example, I moved to this place about a year ago. And I don't feel like I have the closest network of friends. I feel like I have my husband's connections, and I've made some connections over the past year, year and a half, but I can't firmly say that I've found my people here. And a lot of times I feel pretty lonely. I'm like, oh, I don't have like a group of friends that I can always hang out with, or people that I feel like are like-minded, or people that, you know, I find comfort in and just being myself. Like, I don't have to perform. I don't have to be this person. I don't, you know, not that we have to perform, but you know what I mean? Like, I don't have to like play into the, you know, I don't know, you know, like the small talk and all that kind of stuff. Like, I don't have that group of friends where I can just be casual around. There's a better way to say that. Like, I can't just like be. And I felt really insecure about that. I felt really, really crappy about that. And so something that I've been saying now is I'm really connected to my community. I feel joy in my community. I feel happiness in my community. I feel like I make really great relationships everywhere I go. I meet really great people everywhere I go. And that's something that I say to myself all the time. It's not necessarily always reflected in my circumstance, but it helps me put on the glasses in order to find that, right? If I go into a lot of situations thinking my life sucks, I have no friends, I'm lonely, I'm sad, everything around me sucks, and I am just a miserable girl, then I'm not going to be able to see the joy from meeting new people. Like, I'm not going to be able to gather healthy relationships from other people because people are a lot smarter than we give them credit for. They can sense energy. Energy is something that we can feel. We can feel when somebody is like insecure. We can feel when somebody, you know, doesn't really like themselves very much or is thinking negatively all the time. And who wants to be friends with that person? Not you, not I, right? Let's be honest. Right? We want to be around people who are better than us, who uplift us. We want to be around people that make us feel like we're smart and that we're learning from, right? Someone who's a value add into our life. We're all very smart financial people. We always want some sort of value add. And I think, you know, when we go into relationships and we go into communities, if you have this perception of like, I'm just somebody who doesn't really have a lot of friends, I'm somebody who doesn't really have great relationships with people, we often sort of find that we're in those loops over and over again. So one really helpful thing that I've done is taking an audit of my thoughts, writing down on one fine morning every single thing that you thought of. Now, you're not going to catch them all. We have over 70,000 thoughts a day. You're not going to catch them all. There are going to be some, though, that you think about a lot, right? And think about the ones where you are centered, like I am blank. And take an audit, right? Think about what you've thought about that day. Near the end of the day, you know, right? Look at your notebook or look at your phone and be like, you know what? This is the stuff that I've thought about. And then put little arrows on the good ones and the ones that you want to change. On the good ones, put like a upward arrow. On the ones that you want to change, put a downward arrow. An example of this is like, oh, I have to check my bank balance today. That's not going to be a good number to look at. Oh, I have to talk to my boss today. Oh, I have to talk to my coworkers today. Oh, my mom's calling me. Like those kinds of thoughts, right? Instead, I get to talk to my boss today. My mom's calling me. Yay! You know, and it's like, that's the transmutation process. It's literally looking at the exact same thing and turning it into something that's actually helpful for you. Why is this important? Why do you need to do this? That sounds like a lot of work. Well, because you can create better for yourself. You can tap into your own mind and find ways to help yourself. You can do that all on your own. You can change your own life just by changing the way that you think. Because what is life? An extension of us. We are a part of life. We are not life, right? We are merely experiencing it. And the beautiful thing is we can create our reality because our reality is what we see. It's based on our perception. And so try to feel empowered by that. Try to go back into your mind and say, you know what? I don't need to think about this like this anymore. I can go back into my past safely in my own mind and be happy with the way that I went about certain things. And I can go about these negative circumstances in a way that's actually healing for me. And so that to me is what spirituality is. To me, spirituality is my gateway to wanting better and to feeling better. We're in the Kali Yugam. Dun dun dun. It's doom and gloom. It sucks. But the one bright, beautiful thing about the Kali Yugam is that one step towards God, 10 steps he takes towards you. And that's exciting because it is so hard to even take that one step towards God sometimes. It's so hard to think about him sometimes, but he's always there. He's there for you, and that peace and that love is accessible to you. I think another major thing is finding a spiritual practice that you love. You can start small. You can start by journaling and doing this little journal exercise that I gave you. Start there. Work your way up. If you're like, you know what, Janani, I've already done that and I'm ready for more, then start reading some books. I've got some spiritual ones in my little corner here, and I have them linked on my website on ones that I always return back to. They're all in English. They're easy to read, and I think that they are highly accessible. You can get them literally on Amazon. And the words themselves are not difficult to follow. David Hawkins, you might need to take your time with him, but he has taught me a lot. Another really, really big thing is getting into your religious practices and connecting to your parents and what they taught you. And if they don't have the answers that you're looking for, keep searching in your family. Follow what your family practices. And they'll be more than happy to teach you. From my experience, our parents are just excited that, we want to learn from them. So just, and imagine like a child coming up to you and being like, let alone a child, but let alone your own child, right? Imagine a child coming up to you and being like, Amma, Appa, how can I be better in this? Come on. If a child came up to you and like they had no like relation to me, I'd be like, let me tell you everything that I just learned, So imagine how our parents must feel. Don't be shy. Be humble and just say, parents, how can I be better? And we can do that at all ages, okay? I have absolutely no problem now calling up my mom and being like, what does this word mean? I don't care if I sound stupid. I don't care if I sound novice. I don't care. I want to learn, right? And I want to learn it from the context of my parents so that I can have a foundation to get to then do further research. So that's really important to me, is having a really good relationship with my parents and my in-laws, who are also my parents, right? And so that's really important. And further than that, I think having some sort of ritual, right? Like I go to the temple every week, or I go to the temple every Sunday, or every first Sunday, or, when something really good happens, I go to the temple. When something really bad happens, I go to the temple. And daily practice can look like praying to your home temple, right? Set up a little shrine for God. All you have to do is just like, even if you don't have like an actual murti, like an actual physical idol, you just have to print out a picture of your Ishtadevam, put him in a little frame, put her in a little frame, and put it next to like a nice location per vastu. That's up to your own discretion. And pray. Sit for 5 minutes in front of him or her, that god or goddess, and just pray. You don't have to say any fancy slokam. You can look up the slokam on YouTube if you don't know it. Over time, you will learn it. Again, ask your parents, what small slokam can I say? And just start saying it. And then that will grow, and that will grow, and it will grow even more. And it'll become to a point where you can't go a day without your spiritual practice. You'll feel weird if you didn't shower in the morning. You'll feel weird if you didn't shower at night. You'll feel weird if you didn't do your spiritual practice. Like, you'll feel odd. And it's just like, depriving yourself of water or food for a day, where you're like, why did I deprive myself of water? Why did I go hours without eating? That's silly. Now I feel so much better now that I ate. So it's similar to that. Integrate it slowly into your routine and prioritize it. make it manageable so that it doesn't feel super daunting at first. If you have travel plans or friends plans or family plans, make sure you can condense it into something that you can take with you, right? Like I'm traveling and my plan is to take a small book with me, or take my like jabam male, or, you know, just have the prayer in my head. You don't need a physical item to connect to, but if it helps you, it helps you. But it's so important to just remember why you're doing any of this. And the reason you're doing any of this is to reduce your own suffering so that that connection to God can be easier, and to also just have a connection to God, get to know him, get to know his characteristics, get to know how forgiving he is, get to know how loving God is. When you start to read about in the Bhagavad Gita how much God does for you, it just brought tears to my eyes. I was like, oh my gosh, it's so pavam. Like we sit here and we don't believe in him sometimes. We sit here and we don't think about him sometimes, when all he wants is to help us. It brings tears to my eyes. And then it brings tears to my eyes thinking about our parents, all those fights that we've had, all those disagreements that we have that seem so small now. And it just makes you want to be the best version of yourself so that you can never make someone else feel small again. And to treat all of God's creations with love and respect. That is what spirituality does for me. That's why it's important. And that's why you can use spirituality to make you feel better. But think about what you're thinking about. Think about how you're feeling. Pause for a moment from your busy life and just be. Thank you so much for watching this video. You know, I think it's fun to kind of intersperse these more casual videos and just sort of speak to you from the brain and just have a stream of consciousness going. You know, you guys are so unbelievably helpful to me. I truly love and appreciate each and every one of you. And if you've taken the time to subscribe and taken the time to be here, like, I really could not pay you back enough. I hope that me making videos will help you in some way. And if you want me to cover any specific topic, please be sure to comment that or DM me on Instagram. Follow me there too, because I talk about a lot of different things there. I just need to figure out the balance between TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Really what I end up doing is just picking up the camera and talking, and it really depends on what camera I choose, whether it's my phone or my actual camera. So, you know, follow me there too, I guess. And I've been told that I need to be better at plugging myself. So here's me plugging myself. I have a magazine called The Indian Standard. I make documentaries. I make physical magazines. I have merch. What else do I do? Make YouTube videos. I make videos on TikTok, and I post stuff to Instagram, all relating to mental health, spirituality, and Sanatana Dharma, and have been doing so for 4 years. So there's a lot of content there. I feel like I've made 1,000 videos, but it's probably more than that. Anyway, I love you all. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.